let's face it, figuring out how to lose weight, it can feel like navigating a minefield. Seriously.
Oh, absolutely. There's so much conflicting advice, it's hard to know what actually works.
Totally overwhelming sometimes. Which is why, looking at real life experiences can be so helpful.
Pulling out those key takeaways, seeing what clicked for someone else.
And that's exactly what we're doing in this deep dive. We're looking at Christopher Schwarzenegger's recent discussion. He's Arnold Schwarzenegger and Maria Shriver's son, about his 6-year, 30-pound weight loss journey.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's not just another, celebrity weight loss story.
Right. What makes it stand out is how relatable he is about motivation, the whole trial and error process, and this one specific dietary change that apparently had a huge impact.
Exactly. We're working primarily from a news article that details his reflections, gives us his perspective, plus a little family background.
Okay, so our mission here is to really get into the key factors behind Christopher Schwarzenegger's weight loss, understand the context, and maybe find some insights that could resonate with you listening.
Sounds good. Where should we start?
Okay, let's unpack this. So the timeline. Christopher mentioned his journey really kicked off or gained momentum back in 2019. He was in Australia.
And what really jumps out is the trigger for that,
Yeah.
his initial motivation.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like a general, I should lose weight. It was this realization that his size was actually stopping him from doing things.
Exactly. He gave that specific example, didn't he? Wanting to go skydiving with friends,
Right.
but feeling like it wouldn't actually be safe for him at that size. That's such a concrete thing.
It really is a powerful image.
Yeah.
That feeling of, your body holding you back from something you really want to experience.
Yeah.
And that kind of goal, that specific, I want to do this, can be way more motivating than just chasing a number on a scale.
Definitely connects it to real life, to lived experiences. He also shared that, this wasn't some overnight fix. He remembered using meal delivery services back in high school
Oh, interesting.
and feeling kind of awkward about it, like the weirdo bringing special lunches.
Right. That really underscores that this wasn't his first attempt. It's been a longer journey.
Yeah, it highlights that it involved earlier tries, adjustments. It wasn't just boom, success.
And that resonates, I think, with a lot of people. Sustainable change, it's rarely a straight line, is it? There's usually a history there.
His honesty about that makes it feel more grounded.
Definitely. And even now, after losing the 30 pounds, seeing the photos,
Yeah.
he still says he doesn't feel like he's reached some kind of final after stage.
Which is such an important point. It emphasizes that it's ongoing, a process, a lifestyle shift, not just hitting a target.
That's a really insightful perspective, I think. Lasting change is about continuous effort, self-awareness, not just ticking a box.
Okay, now here's a really fascinating bit. The key dietary change he pointed to,
Ah, yes, the bread.
giving up bread for Lent.
And the context there is pretty interesting, too, because it wasn't initially about weight loss at all.
No, it started as a religious observance. He basically said, and I'm quoting here, well, if I'm giving up bread, I might as well just take the opportunity, and I'm a good Catholic boy, so I'm not going to break it.
So that commitment, that framework was already there for a different reason.
Exactly. And the result, he lost 30 pounds just from cutting out bread during that Lenten period.
Wow. That suggests a couple of things. The power of really clear boundaries, maybe, and a strong personal commitment, even if the original driver wasn't weight loss itself.
Right.
And it also shows how, for some people, eliminating just one common food group like bread can make a really noticeable difference, maybe reducing overall carbs or calories or whatever it was for him.
It's very individual, isn't it, what
Yeah,
works?
totally.
It's also worth mentioning that Christopher, he generally seems to prefer staying out of the spotlight.
Yeah, he's not constantly in the public eye like some of his family members.
So him choosing to talk about this weight loss journey, it feels, well, significant.
It does. It kind of implies he felt there was something valuable in his experience worth sharing.
And we did see visual evidence, didn't we? There was that family photo.
Yes, his sister Catherine posted on Instagram for National Siblings Day recently.
And you could definitely see the change.
Visuals often add that extra layer, don't they? Now, just for a bit more context, the article also briefly touched on his professional life.
Right. He's involved in quite a few things. Associate producer, vice chair of the Special Olympics Founders Council, development director at Indus Valley Media.
And worked previously at Malka and for Trevor Mowat. Plus, he's a University of Michigan grad psychology degree.
Yeah, paints a picture of someone with, his own pursuits outside the family name.
Absolutely. Adds a bit more dimension.
And speaking of family, obviously a very well-known one, parents Arnold Schwarzenegger and Maria Shriver Siblings Catherine, Christina, Patrick, and half-brother Joseph Fabina.
All right, quite a prominent family. And, Arnold's a grandfather now, through Catherine and Chris Pratt. He seems to enjoy that role.
Yeah, he mentioned the joy of it. And there's the context of Maria and Arnold's divorce after Joseph's parentage came out,
Mm-hmm. Though Chris Pratt has commented positively on their co-parenting now.
which is good to hear. And Catherine's obviously married to Chris Pratt, enjoying motherhood. Patrick's an actor, seems close to Pratt, too.
Yeah, Pratt apparently encouraged him for a role. Patrick was in the White Lotus, American Sports Story. Seems to be doing well. Engaged now, too.
And Christina's involved in documentaries, Joseph in acting and real estate, and shares that fitness interest with Arnold.
So a lot going on in that family, but Christopher's journey feels quite distinct within that.
It really does. His choice to share this personal health journey stands out.
And his experience offers this really interesting example of how a seemingly small change, driven by something else entirely,
Like Lent.
right, like Lent,
Yeah.
can actually lead to pretty significant results. It really underscores finding what works for you.
Through your own motivations, your own experiments, maybe even unexpected opportunities like that.
Exactly.
So, bringing it back to Christopher's story, what's like the core insight for you?
I think, stepping back a bit, his experience really highlights how significant changes can sometimes come from these quite targeted actions, especially when they're fueled by personal motivation.
Mm.
And a clear framework, even if that framework, like Lent, wasn't originally about weight loss. It wasn't some radical diet overhaul,
No, not at all.
but it worked for him. It really emphasizes the value of individual experimentation, finding what clicks with your own life, your values.
Yeah, it wasn't about chasing the latest fad. It was personal, connected to his beliefs, and it just happened to lead to weight loss.
Which reinforces that idea, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That the strategies that stick are often the ones you can actually adhere to, the ones that fit your life.
So this prompts a question, I think, for you listening. What can we take away from this specific example? Okay, so quick recap of Christopher's journey. Started with that wake-up call in Australia, feeling limited, wanting to skydive.
The catalysts.
It's been a long-term thing, not his first try at weight management.
Right, years in the making.
And the big lever he identified, giving up bread for Lent, led to that noticeable 30-pound loss.
And crucially, it wasn't some instant dramatic transformation overall, but more of a gradual process. Key moments, yes, but driven by steady commitment to that specific change.
Right, consistency. So here's a final thought for you to mull over. Think about a seemingly small shift in your own life, something driven by a personal desire, maybe more energy, feeling better, achieving a goal. Could it potentially lead to a significant positive outcome?
What's your metaphorical bread?
Exactly. What's that one, maybe small but significant thing in your routine that you could consider adjusting? Not necessarily giving it up forever, but maybe just as an experiment.
See what happens. Reflect on your own motivators. Be open to trying things that feel sustainable for you in your unique situation.